My guest today is Martha Allen Price, who's a fellow Delta native.
Woohoo, Delta girl.
And if you can see behind me, she runs Extra Table here in Hattiesburg. And I'm going to let you do the Marvel origin story of who you are for everybody. And a little bit different. Normally it was breaking bread. We normally eat some kind of meal together, but we're going to talk about, kind of the lack of that a lot today. So tell us about Extra Table and your origin story of getting here.
Yeah. So I am a Delta girl, and I love to talk about football in the fall. And we were just talking about degrees and stuff. I went to Ole Miss, Alabama, and Mississippi State. And then my grandfather and uncle, both from Drew, Mississippi, were quarterbacks here at USM. So I feel like this is my second home. I love Hattiesburg. And one day, Robert St. John came a-calling. And I was working for another organization, and we had an event, and Robert was our entertainment, he and Wyatt Waters. And it was a great event. They loved it. We had a lot of fun. We raised a lot of money, and Robert remembered that. And when this position, my position as the executive director, came open, Robert called, and we had a headhunter, and they put me into the mix, and I was like, this is where I'm supposed to be. And my friend, Nell Cohen, John Cohen, was the athletic director at Mississippi State at the time. And I got a call on a Friday night from Nell, and Nell was like, Martha, this is you. She was like, I don't want you to move though, but this job sounds just like you. And I never thought I would leave West Point, but when it's right. And the job description, and it's still the job description, it just feels like it was made for me. And I love what we do and how we do it. So if you're not familiar with Extra Table, we were founded in 2009 by Chef Robert St. John, our good friend.
Yeah.
And
I've heard him tell the story of hiring the headhunter, and they just were like, brought all these candidates in. He said, I got one more you need to talk to.
That's right.
And they bring her in, and they're like, we don't do that. Well, you don't bring people to us. And after, they were like, yeah, she's the girl.
It was funny. Yeah, I was leaving that little part out, but it was really funny.
I knew you were going to leave that out. That's why I had to tell it.
Them going back and forth, because he was like, our contract says we get 5 people. And what an honor it was for me that, and Robert was like, no, you got to go visit this girl. And so he did. And I met them in the Holiday Inn, or the Hampton Inn in West Point, in the lobby Monday morning before I went to work. And
at the time, you were working with Chamber of Commerce, or
my first job in West Point was as the Main Street director. So
Main Street,
Mississippi Main Street. And then I worked for Region 7.
Did you ever work with Beverly Ming, by the way? Do you remember her?
I don't remember that name.
She started the Main Street thing, but she passed away probably right before you were involved with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I worked for a mental health company, Region 7 Mental Health, and it was a lot of fun. So I left a $25 million company with 400 coworkers to come to a place where at the highest level we have 4 coworkers.
At first it was just you, right?
It was just me.
So really you came here to work by yourself.
Yes, I did, as a solo employee. But so back to how we work. So at Extra Table, we fundraise in order to purchase new, healthy, and shelf-stable food. So Robert, the creative guy that he is, he founded Extra Table in 2009 because his mom was volunteering at Edward Street, a local food pantry. And you've heard a lot about, we're real adamant and feel very strongly about the food that we ship, the quality, nutritious stuff. And they were just out of food. Like, they had the blueberry pie filling and the water chestnuts and the expired stuff that they can't give out. And so that's where Extra Table fills that really important void. So we purchase all that quality, nutritious stuff, the same stuff that you take pride in serving your patrons at the restaurant, and the stuff that you have at home on your pantry shelves.
So how did you get into, because you clearly have a love for 501c3s.
Yeah.
So how did you, because you start out with a master's degree in architecture. that you
out-of-state tuition.
Yeah. That we always laugh about your dad lovingly paid for.
Yes.
And then you go into raising money. Why that direction? What led you that way?
That's an easy question for me to answer. It's my parents. It's how I was raised. My mom was a kindergarten teacher in the county schools in Coahoma County. She taught when we were little bitty with us at the day school, but then she went out to the county schools. And so she was always caring for children that she saw were coming to school in dirty uniforms day after day, or were hungry, or she knew wouldn't have Christmas. And then My dad went to law school late in life after a not so successful farming career, I guess. That happens. And so he went to law school, and then he spent a lot of time advocating for mental health rights and being a commitment judge. And then he retired as a youth court judge of 12 years. So we were constantly serving as a family, constantly active in the community. And I don't have a Christmas memory that doesn't involve us doing something for someone else.
So supernatural for you, and as a play on words, supernatural.
Yeah.
For you, right. But the Delta is there's so much need. I mean, if you're not from the Delta, it's kind of hard to understand, but there's so much need there.
There's so much need. It's so many
So there's
levels.
always something. Yeah, there's so many levels. Always something you can do. So we both grew up in a place that there was always something you could do for the community.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, Clarksdale, Drew's a lot smaller than Clarksdale, but what was it like growing up in Clarksdale? And of course, you've watched it change.
A lot.
So now it's the blues capital of the world, I guess, you know.
Yep.
Bill Luckett told me before he died, he said it's the #1 international tourist destination in Mississippi is Clarksdale.
Mm-hmm. That's easy to believe, too. When I go home and go have a cup of coffee like Yazoo Pass, I can sit outside at a table and hear 2 or 3 languages in a matter of minutes.
It's wild.
But growing up in the Delta, it was a really special place. There's such connectivity. There's such warmth. There's such, service. We all have each other's back, and we're all about lifting each other up. I feel like I don't remember hearing the negativity and the statistics, the bad stuff growing up. I loved where I was from. I loved the people. I loved the small town life, and I appreciate it more as an adult than I probably did as a kid, having to hang out in a cotton field on Friday night.
I think everybody does. You know, I talked to a lot of people that left and came back, and going back to Bill, you know, of course he did the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
He left and came back, and it is something to say. What he told me, he's like, one thing that's easy about it is, you know where to take your dry cleaning. You know, it's easy in a way.
Yes.
And all the hard things are true, but it's also easy in a way. In the richest of the rich and the poorest of the poor live next door to each other.
Yep.
Well, that's unlike anywhere else.
Yeah. And so talking about your dry cleanings delivered, I did not know until I was a 40-year-old grown adult that when you went to the eye doctor, it was not normal to take home several pair of glasses and come back the next day with a decision, because my eye doctor had always allowed me to do that because I couldn't make a decision right there. But that's what you get.
Yeah.
That's so typical of the Delta, so typical of the relationships, so typical of the people. And I always laughed with like the Teach for America program. If they recruited 20, 10 were staying for a lifetime. And the Delta is such a loving, wonderful place.
It is. I remember one time somebody had car trouble in Drew, and their battery was bad. And so I called up the guy that owns the parts store, which is my cousin. And he comes up there, and I buy him a battery.
Yep.
And they're like, where am I? That's just we don't know any different. That's the way we do, you know. You're passing through town, there's not a hotel there.
Right.
So we got to get you on the road.
And like when you got here today, you're like, I got a Delta story for you, you know.
So I pull in today to come see her, and I end up being late because I roll the window down and somebody recognizes me that's from the Delta and pulls up in the parking lot behind me.
But my staff are always like, oh, don't say anything. They're probably Martha's cousin, you know. And
that's actually the exact discussion we just had in the parking lot. That if you're in the Delta, you never talk bad about anybody because the person you're talking to is probably related to him.
Yes.
I mean, literally just had that discussion.
So I spent 15 years in West Point, Mississippi before moving to Hattiesburg. And a guy I grew up with, Fred Zapponi, I guess he's a couple years older, but my Aunt Rita Youngblood Allen is the Italian side of Clarksdale, and she is also my friend Fred Zapponi's aunt.
So I met your Aunt Rita last night.
Oh, yay!
Yeah.
So
at the book signing.
Oh, that was, I bet, great. That was a good night.
I convinced your mom not to buy a book because I said, I think Martha bought a lot.
I did.
I said, don't buy a book. I'll sell you one later if you don't get one for Christmas.
I've got a Stafford bookstore going on at my house right now.
She really does. I was like, she was a big help getting me on that Amazon bestseller list.
That's what we do. We support our friends.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, Aunt Rita was Fred Zapponi's aunt, so it covered the Italian side of Clarksdale. And then I was the other side of Clarksdale. So really, we had it wrapped up.
Between your mom and your Aunt Rita, they had me cornered pretty good in there.
Oh man, I'm sorry. They're
No,
two
it was
good
great.
ones though. They're
It was
good.
great. At Magpie, we were at Magpie.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Magpie's owned by Kathy Good, our
Yeah.
neighbor.
Yeah, so Gary and I used to farm next to each other when he was farming in Drew. So that's how I know Gary.
When he was farming in Drew, I was at his house with all 3 kids. I was their nanny for years.
Oh, that's such a small world. Well, your mom did say y'all were neighbors.
Yeah. The day
But
I
I
got
didn't know
my,
y'all were that neighborly.
we're that neighborly. A go-kart gets you to their yard when you don't have a driver's
Yeah.
license to show up for work.
Yeah. I got another great Delta story about go-karts getting you to work. But so I was justice court judge. I owned a restaurant. I was farming on the restaurant, and my daughter is at the time like 6th grade, and I start having her wait tables at Stafford's, and we have a little John Deere side by side.
Yeah.
So she drives it to work, and I'm like, that's okay, but if you go down the alley, you don't ever have to actually get on the street, park in the back. And sure enough, I would go downtown, and she'd be parked right in the front. So we're at Christmas the same year, 6th grade now. And I mean, waiting tables, actively waiting tables. And my aunt says, I got something for you. And she gives her a driver's license that says, my dad is the judge. And I was like, if you use that, you will be so grounded.
Yes.
But that's how small the Delta is.
Yep. That's funny. My
That
dad would.
you can be in the 6th grade and drive a golf cart to your neighbor's house to work.
It is. I was sitting on at Talladega on whatever it is, like the top. There's 12 seats on this major row. I was with a guest of a friend's dad. We're sitting there, 12 people. And I sit next to this man, and he says, from Clarksdale. So whose kid are you? Rughead, Buckethead, or Jughead? And I was like, this is mortifying. I'm Rughead's kid. And because my dad and his brothers all have huge bucket-sized heads. They just have big heads. And my dad has curly hair, and so he was the Rughead.
Okay.
And there were 12 people on that row. And in the whole Talladega place, I sit by someone who's like, an Allen. Whose kid are you? I was like, this is not what I pictured.
Oh, it's like I'm somewhere, and if somebody will see my blue Delta jeans, they're like, are you an Ole Miss fan? Because they're so Ole Miss. And I'm like, no, actually, I went to Mississippi State, but they're friends of mine. And we just figured this, again, you never know who you're kin to. Nick Weaver, do you know Nick? He's one of the owners of Blue Delta. His mom's from Drew, which I knew. That's why they did the Drew hat. And I was talking to his uncle, who I didn't know was his uncle. And he messages me on Facebook and says, Nick's grandmother was a Sheridan. So Nick, that's why I text him and I said, was your grandmother Sheridan? He said, yeah, we can, bro.
Okay, we've got to go down the family tree one more. My grandmother is Martha Weaver Clark from Drew, Doddsville, that whole area. So it's got to be all the same.
Got to be the same.
Crazy small world.
Yeah, it's and there again, I forget who it was that was the worked in the courthouse in Indianola, but he said like everybody in Sunflower County came from 8 families or something like that. Like he had all the genealogy in the courthouse, and like everybody's from 8 families.
That's probably the truth.
You got to be careful who you date.
Well, when families had my grandmother had 6 sisters. And so such big families, and then big families had big families. And
Granddaddy was one of 18.
good lordy.
Yes. People say, are you kin to such and such Sheridan? I'm like, I have no idea who they are, but if their last name's Sheridan, I'm kin to them. Because it's that there was Sheridan, and one generation, the 2 sons went from Sheridan to Sheridan, no explanation why. And so all the rest of the Sheridans came from those 2 guys.
Well, that's like Toxie Hayes and Mossy Oak. When I first moved to West Point and met Miss Diane, Mr. Toxie's wife, I was like, my dad talks about your family history all the time. We're somehow connected too. I was like, it was Haas before the Civil War in Mobile and Hayes after the Civil War. And she was like, I did not know that.
I think that's what makes what you do here work so well, is that Mississippi really is one big small town, is what I tell everybody.
Yes.
Like people from outside the state, I don't think understand. We have different areas. I mean, like the coast is totally different from the Delta, for instance. And this part of Mississippi here in Hattiesburg is different from north of West Point, where you start almost getting in Appalachia. You know, you start getting north of Pontotoc, especially up in Tishomingo. You ever been to Tishomingo State Park? It looks like
gorgeous.
Gatlinburg, Yeah. And but at the same time, I was at a gas station in Corinth, and this old man walks up and gets to, while I'm filming, and gets to, it's the greatest thing you've ever seen on camera. And he gets to telling me how good the chicken is. And he finds out I'm from Drew, and he said, Sydney Sheridan taught me how to farm vegetables. So the crazy story behind that is Sydney Sheridan taught vegetable farming at Parchman.
No
So
way.
the guy was telling me he was in Parchman, you know, but that's how he made his living, in Corinth.
That's so cool.
This connection going back, that he made his living farming vegetables because he learned it in Parchman from my cousin, Sydney Sheridan.
I love it. But
Yeah.
I think so much about what set me up to be a part of Extra Table and to love what I do is because, just like you, I genuinely love people.
Yeah.
Like, it's not about like going to a meeting and thinking, how much money can I ask them for? It's like, tell me your story. Tell me how food fits in your life. You know, tell me, why do you want to feed hungry families? We all have a story. We all have roots and a connection, especially in Mississippi, to food.
Yeah, and it's one thing I wanted to ask you, and Robert talks a little bit about this, the connection between obesity and hunger, which makes no sense, common sense. You would think that can't happen, but it's real.
It's real.
One of the issues we have is obesity in Mississippi. So you tell people, there are hungry people out there, they go, really?
What? Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've got heart disease and diabetes and, you know, high blood pressure and all that, and obesity as well. So you can see how all those kind of fall in a bucket if you're not eating good food, not taking care of yourself. And some of it is genetic, but, you know, the fried okra after too many years can get to you.
Yeah.
But, you know, when we provide food at Extra Table, it's the quality, nutritious stuff. And when we say healthy and nutritious, we're not talking about, you know, quinoa or, you know, lentils or, you know, Brussels sprouts. We're talking about normal quality stuff that our families recognize and that we all enjoy. So green beans, pasta sauce, corn, carrots, oatmeal. We just got in a new chili that it's vegetarian, so it's just a bean chili, and it has 22 grams of protein. Man, I'm so proud of that stuff. But we're in our rural state, you know, in Drew, you got to walk a ways to get to the grocery store, you know.
Yeah, you don't have a grocery store in Drew.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
And then even in Hattiesburg, in a metro area, it's not around the corner like it used to be. So we don't have public transportation like a lot of other states. And so it's difficult to get to options. And so we know fast food is fast. And then preparing food at home is hard. And so people go for, like Robert says, you walk down the street and you go to the gas station and you get a pack of Doritos and you get a Coca-Cola and you eat that, and it's
easy and it's relatively inexpensive.
It's easy, relatively inexpensive. It solves the current problem, but it doesn't serve as a solution, because 2 hours later you're hungry.
So we're talking about nutrition and neighbors. I think it's a good segue to bring up your bag right here.
Yeah.
Which we love, because my neighbor, Mike Wagner, provides the rice for this.
He does.
Literally across the turn road from me.
Yep.
I mean, I can see them cutting rice down the road when they're harvesting.
This is the second best present this year. The first is that new Drew hat you have. I've got to get my hands on that. This is the second best. We'll go with that.
Yeah. So tell us about how this came to fruition, what the purpose of this bag is, how that works, and how people can kind of participate, because I got the opportunity to work with you guys and build these bags.
It's fun.
It is fun, and there's some video of that, of me wearing a hairnet. It's not a pretty sight.
So at Extra Table, like we talked, we fundraise in order to purchase food. So my daily, job at my desk is making phone calls and raising money, and working with Lindsay and the rest of our team to plan events where we raise money. And so, but what more can our food do? Like, how can we really create pendulum swing change in the state of Mississippi? So we're doing what our mission says. We're delivering 95,000 pounds of food to our 66 food pantry partners every month for free. And my favorite line, and especially during these times, is no red tape, just full plates. We've never received federal funding and have no plan to ever receive it. So in difficult...
How much easier do you think that makes it?
Oh, man.
Because I wanted to get into that.
Woo, paperwork alone. I mean, we aren't dictated by zip code distribution. We aren't dictated by what we purchase. Stuff isn't handed down to us that we don't agree with, might not be the healthiest. Our food always offers dignity and respect and hope for a better tomorrow. It doesn't look like a government handout. It's not expired. It's not a dented can. And so it's no one's life goal to stand in a food pantry line. And I think we have to really recognize that the definition of a food pantry is emergency assistance. But unfortunately, some people live in that emergency zone for their entire life.
Way too long.
Way too long. And, there's another really good statistic, and I promise I'll define this, but there's another really good statistic, and it's 52% of the 1.2 million households in the state of Mississippi are something called ALICE. And that's asset limited, income constrained, but employed. And people don't always recognize that fact. So many of our food insecure brothers and sisters throughout the state are working, and they just can't.
I think that's important for people to understand. They're not just sitting at home asking for a handout. They're trying to do something with their life, and they're just not making enough money to. And they're not starving. They're food insecure, and there's a difference.
Right.
And that's when that's when you start having those problems we were talking about earlier, right? The obesity and the heart disease because they're buying whatever the cheapest thing
is to feed the most people under their roof and get it done. The combined federal household that draws the line at low income, I believe it's a combined income of $32,000. So if you make $33,000, you aren't eligible for any support, and you're working, and you cannot put two and two together.
If you've got a family of four and you got $33,000, you're not surviving.
No, and when we met this summer, we were doing the math and talking about that.
Yeah.
If you make $32,000 or less, and your children are in school every day receiving a breakfast and a lunch, and you divide the meals all out, that leaves you $1.28 to spend on a meal if you're gonna make it to the end of the month. And so that we went all the way on the math. It was 3 slices of peaches and 2 chicken strips with no sauce. That's not a meal.
That's not a meal. Mm-mm. And this solves some of that problem.
This solves that. So we are based out of Hattiesburg, and so if you want to volunteer, you used to have to come to Hattiesburg and work on a Sunday at our warehouse. So that was one problem. And then what more can we do? How can we make that pendulum swing change and really get into the communities and get some more quality stuff out there and look at the obesity and the hunger and the nutrition deficits? And so we went to a vitamin scientist in California, and we lucked up, and he was a young guy, and he was a bodybuilder, and so we had his attention with this. So he
was all in on the project.
He was all in on the project. He was quick to respond to emails and talk about vitamins with me. And so he was really kind and pulled all the data on Mississippi specifically on food insecurity, obesity, hunger, all the different things, heart disease, and run some reports and come up with 22 vitamins and minerals that food insecure Mississippians are missing in their diets. And so we took that and we went to Reed Food Technologies in Jackson, and they worked with us tirelessly for like 2 years to meet our goals, which was something that was reduced sodium, which is better than low sodium, which is really hard to achieve. There's a reason that all that good store-bought shelf-stable stuff is salty and tastes so good. So we went around the world to get that, but we used Mike Wagner's rice, and we used small parboiled split red beans. So there's no Saturday soaking of the beans before you can make this. So you simply rip this top open, add 5 cups of water, and your spice and vitamin pack, and you've got a meal, and it's delicious.
Feeds 4, is that right?
Feeds 4. And, another thing we were real particular about is we didn't want it to feed 4 and be like a little, medium-sized serving, and you need bread and a salad and some corn or something to go with it to be full.
Yeah.
We wanted it to be a adult male's hungry guy serving.
Those people that are working and can't.
Yeah. And so it's a full meal. It's delicious. And, this allows you this says, hey, I believe in you. Have a good day. Here's a delicious meal you can be proud to feed your family. And so,
it is good.
And
we got to eat it. Yeah.
Yep. Best Christmas present on our website.
So how do people get involved in making this happen? Yeah.
So this is a mobile factory. And so we will come to you. It's about $6,000 to $6,200 depending on mileage. And we're watching every penny around here.
Yeah.
And so we'll show up at your doorstep. We show up with tables and the sealers and all the product, and you just need to come up with 100 people. And
so do y'all do this a lot with corporate sponsors, for
Yes.
instance, where they'll bring you into their facility and they bring their employees in and they spend a half a day or whatever?
60 minutes,
60
not
minutes.
even half a day,
Yeah.
a lunch break.
A lunch break, yeah. I forget that. How many did we do in 60 minutes? How many can you do?
You can do 10,000 meals in 60 minutes.
Yeah.
So
Which is wild. It doesn't make sense to
Wild.
you. And it's not like super complicated.
no. And you're not breaking a sweat. It's
Yeah.
not like hard labor. Everybody can do it. You meet a new friend, but it's great for schools and churches. And we'll show up for 1:00 after church on Sunday at your church, wherever you are in the state. We want this everywhere. And also, we know at Extra Table, this was another part of our research, is, how do we raise people up and break the cycle of hunger and break the cycle of poverty and just really elevate those nasty facts in our state and bring people up. And so we realized that if you sit down at the dinner table with your children 2 to 3 nights a week, those kids are 40% more likely to make A's and B's in school. And so
Some of that's nutrition and some of it's just the
conversation,
family unit, right?
the family
Yeah.
unit. It's really important. There's a Harvard study and a Columbia study that both really emphasize dinner as a family. And so if we can make getting to the table with dinner easy for families, then that helps everything.
One of the other things that you said to us when we were here for the influencer event that you were like, because it's shelf stable,
Yep.
y'all don't do much refrigerate, a little bit, like the chickens were
The
coming
chickens
up.
are it.
And y'all would run into people that didn't have electricity on or
Right.
something like that.
Yep.
That, like, we're talking about, so there are the people that are literally in abject poverty too. Like, we're not ignoring those people.
No.
And that's why stuff like this, they can have a hot
Yep.
plate or whatever and they can make
Yep.
this work where
If
they
you-
don't have refrigeration.
If you've ever talked to a school teacher, they'll tell you that their children in their classroom are hungry, like truly hungry. Like there's no food at home. And so the need is great throughout our state. And this is just a fun way to solve it. It's a fun way to get together. It's a fun way to talk about hunger, and you leave with, those warm and fuzzies in your soul because you've done something good for someone else.
I don't know that you want to say this, but I'll say this. One of the things that blew my mind was all food banks don't work the same way.
Nope.
And a lot of these food banks show up to, and I didn't know this either, a food bank takes the food to the food pantry. So
Right.
your local pantry is getting it more than likely from a food bank. I mean, some are raising money on their own, but when y'all would start showing up and say, here's food, you don't owe us anything, they thought it was a scam.
They thought it was a
Because
scam.
it's so common for a food bank to charge that they were surprised by that.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of, like, I just assumed that no food banks charge.
Right.
And that's just not
And-
the truth.
and
So
it's
you guys are trying
pennies
to
on
do
the-
it at no cost to these
Correct.
pantries.
No cost at all. It's pennies on the dollar when they charge at the food pantries. At the
still,
food banks, but still there is a cost.
it's money.
And they don't have the autonomy of purchasing like we do at Extra Table. When we decided last week to make the decision to double our food donation for the month of November, I sent a group text to my executive committee. I was like, this is the right thing to do. This is what we should do. Let's do it. And I printed out their responses, and that's our documentation because we are that flexible and that nimble.
You didn't need a literal act of Congress.
I did not need a literal act
Yeah.
of Congress, thank goodness. And that's why, food started out the door yesterday, and we are able to be flexible and listen and make decisions because that's what we know our food pantries want. Extra Table is for Mississippians, by Mississippians, to feed Mississippians.
And when people donate, correct me if I'm wrong, 100% goes to purchase food.
Yes.
So that was the other thing. I'm like, I know if I give to Extra Table, that money's going to buy food. And not only that, you guys have this incredible buying power.
We have.
Where you can do so much more than I could if I walked in Walmart and bought it and took it to my local pantry, which is what we used to do.
Right. And that's still so important. And canned food drives at the kids' schools, so important for the community buy-in of our pantry partners. But that doesn't necessarily, get them, especially in our small towns, what they need. Because you can't go buy cases and cases of peanut butter at the grocery store. But we use our buying power. So I can take your $1, and instead of you going to the grocery store and barely getting a pack of gum, you can't even get that can of green beans. We can take that $1 and go buy 4 servings, 4 meals. And so we can take it and just
So
multiply.
that's even better than it used to be.
Yes.
I think.
Yes.
Y'all used
It
to
was
say
1 to
3.
2, 1 to 3.
Yeah.
And
So
now
y'all
we're
are
hitting-
improving it.
We're improving. The more food we ship, the more food. When we start shipping sweet potatoes and rice and donated by incredible partners, then our number goes up even.
So how do y'all so let's get to the finance side of this thing. How do y'all create leads? And I mean, this hopefully some guys will watch this and call you, but how do y'all create leads on the asking side? Because we saw the Fed just lowered interest rates yesterday, and that's just a clue that the economy's not great. It's easy for me to say as a farmer the economy's not great because we struggled the last couple of years, but are you finding it harder in this climate to raise funds? Or I mean, like, you have to be a little bit optimistic because you're doubling.
Well, I'm Pollyanna. I'm totally
Yeah.
optimistic, but
Yeah,
I
yeah.
like the bottom line, and I'm very conservative
Yeah.
about my bottom line, because when we commit to a pantry at Extra Table, we commit for as long as we exist. So we aren't going to call you in March and be like, oh, we don't have any money, we're sorry. We've got to figure it out. That is our job.
So
That
you
is,
never can stop fundraising.
Nope, we can never stop fundraising. That is why we exist. That is what we do, and we're a constant supply
So
of food.
I know you do some great events.
Yeah.
We can talk about those. But what's your primary way to get people into the system? Your primary way to get leads?
I think things like this,
Yeah.
sharing with friends, and
So these things are really important.
these things
Yeah.
are really important. Having conversations with people that can champion our cause, like you've done such an unbelievable job doing, Safford, and thank you for that. But every time you post about Extra Table, we get a donation or a phone
Yeah.
call, or I have a truck of sweet potatoes coming in next week because of you.
Jimmy.
Hey, Jimmy.
That's another one of our Delta farmer friends
It
right
is.
there that
And-
was watching and paying attention and sees a need.
And that's so Mississippi.
Yeah.
And so yes, it has been a slower year. The news has been a busy cycle, in this
It has
year.
that.
But for us at Extra Table, my comments are not political. My comments are about people.
Right.
And it's not just the government shutdown and the end of SNAP benefits that we are dealing with. Our pantries started seeing a rise in, requests for food back in July. So it's been.
Well, I guess that's my question. You've
ticking.
got on the one side, the economy means you've got a rise in need.
Yes.
On the other side, you've probably got a lower expectation that people can give.
Yes. And people
so
are being
so it's-
cautious.
Yeah, they're being cautious. Well, that's the reason I was like kind of latched on to your cause, because I know you, I know Robert, I know that the overhead's covered by something else.
Mm-hmm.
So that it's like people are cautious. Like, who can I trust with my money?
Right.
This is hard-earned
You
money.
can trust us.
Yeah, and I feel like I can trust y'all. That's why I'm here.
Yeah. We're like the St. Jude of feeding, because I feel like St. Jude has this story that everyone resonates,
Yeah.
that kids get free care, free good care. And at Extra Table, our pantries get free good food. And my dad says,
And you're responsible with it.
Yes,
on
so
all
responsible.
levels, you're responsible with the money. You're responsible with what you take to the pantries on all levels.
Mm-hmm. It's funny you say that, because if Robert were here, he would add that, I steal his pens and paper clips and I go to his office and use the copier, and I absolutely do. If we can rub two twigs together around here and make something happen versus spending $1, I'm up for it. And I'll go sit at his office on a weekend and make copies just so I don't have to go pay for it. And thank you, Robert.
Well, and you have a lot of great partners too.
We have incredible
on that kind of
partners.
stuff. When I went to the bourbon event, and we definitely need to talk about all the cool events you do throughout the year, because that's a great way. And it kind of works the same way, right? So you have sponsors that pay for the event, and then when you buy a ticket, that's going to help people.
Yes.
And you get to have a great time at the same time.
And events, people are like, oh, event heavy, events have expenses, but we have incredible partners. So from Cisco to PFG to Corner Market, they all have believed in what we do since day one. And our food brokers, Chow Logistics. And so we don't have a food expense. And I bring Robert's catering team along, and that's a big plus, because the most expensive thing for an event is your food and your alcohol. And
Yep.
and we've got a really good team that comes along, and then Jamie Ferris and Misty with Lincoln Road Package bring the bourbon.
What's your favorite event of the year?
Chickens, hands
chickens,
down,
really?
the chickens.
Why the chickens?
Because the chickens, for me, we started this a couple years ago, shipping chickens instead of turkeys. because the poultry economy in our state is, a big part of what carries the industries. Poultry is huge.
Well, and turkeys are ridiculously expensive.
Turkeys are holiday prices too at Thanksgiving. So I feel like I'm getting ripped off when I go to buy those.
Getting ripped off.
Yes. And not everybody knows how to cook a turkey. Not everybody has grandmother's heavy pot. And my favorite fact is there's more meat per pound on a chicken than a turkey because the turkey's bones are heavier.
Yeah.
And you can cook a chicken a million different ways and it's delicious. And that turkey, let's face it, it's dry tomorrow. It's not
There's an art to cooking a turkey for sure.
That's why there's always gravy on the Thanksgiving table.
That's true.
So
that's why we put it in the dressing.
Yes.
Because it's better in the dressing.
Agreed. But so we, Lordy, I just lost my train of thought, Stafford.
We're talking about the chicken.
Thanks. The chickens. My favorite is the chickens.
Yeah.
I have no brain cells left because of the chickens. So
that's coming up like next week, right?
It's honest. Yes, it's here.
But it's Friday, right, when we're filming this. Yes. This will probably come out. You'll be slinging chickens.
Slinging chickens, but we're going to be slinging chickens until Thanksgiving and raising funds for holiday meals. So whenever you see this, donate, please. But this is fun because everybody can give $15. So therefore, everybody can get involved in Extra Table and share in the joy of feeding a family this holiday season. And Robert always, says right behind me saying that, families are just as hungry in June and July as they are in November and December. But if we have people's attention thinking about the Christmas dinner table or the Thanksgiving dinner table, then I want to share with my friends and relatives and strangers I haven't met yet how important it is. Just $15.
Yeah.
$15 puts 3 chickens on a table for a family this Thanksgiving. And wherever you are in the state, you can be a part of our texting program. And you just send a message and say, text 44321, text the word 3 birds, and then you can give. And you can sit in our technology world and get that phone out and just pop, 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 pop. And you can send it to 50 people in 2 minutes. And if half of those people give, can you imagine how much food we're able to put on pantry shelves? I mean, it's really cool.
Have you ever heard the Tony Robbins story about Thanksgiving?
No.
And somebody bringing him the turkey? So when Tony Robbins was a kid, his stepfather, somebody knocks on the door. Mm-hmm. They'd have no food for Thanksgiving. And somebody knocks on the door delivering a full meal. And his stepfather got upset because he's like, we don't take handouts. Mm-hmm. And the guy's a pretty good sized guy. He puts his foot in the door and tries to close it. He said, look, I'm just the delivery guy. I can't come back with this food. And he sees Tony Robbins standing there, a little kid, and says, for him, why don't you just take it?
Oh.
And he said, so my dad saw charity that he didn't want. And he said, I saw food. Mm-hmm. And I saw that somebody, because my dad always said, people don't care. And he said, I saw that some stranger I didn't know cared. And he said, that is what made him Tony Robbins today.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's a great story. And now he does the same thing at Thanksgiving every year. Mm-hmm. He's like, at one point when he made his first little money, he bought like 3 Thanksgiving dinners and took them around and just randomly gave them to people.
That's the best feeling, yeah.
And because he was like, I get the chance to do this for somebody else. So you don't ever know when that chicken you gave is going to change somebody's life. And maybe change the world a little bit.
It does change the world.
That one Thanksgiving dinner,
Your $15.
His stepdad left that day. They never saw him again.
It just tells you how impactful it is.
And rather than him go, well, he saw it as people who don't know me actually care, mm-hmm. which means what he told me was a lie. Thank goodness.
Yeah. It was a good thing the dad left.
Yes.
Yeah. Talking about crying when you distribute Thanksgiving, we get emotional every day because.
Yeah, what's that like?
I mean, it's
do you see that? She don't want to talk, does she?
Hey, Lindsay.
She wants to be behind the camera, not in front of the camera. She's like,
But yeah, we do. I mean, before the camera turned on, she was telling you how much she loved her job and how grateful she was because it's fun to know that you're a part of the solution.
Yeah.
That we are, our partners are amazing. Like we got to go to the governor's mansion and have a turkey pardoning. We can call on so many different partners. Like I sent out an SOS the other day and, Mississippi Power showed up, Grand Bank showed up, Renaissance Bank showed up. I mean, there are so many people that sent employees to help me in a crisis moment in the middle of the workday. And they were like, okay, there's like 2 or 3 coming. They're on their way. And, to have people that believe in you and continue to encourage you. And then when I go to bed at night, I know that, my back hurts and I know why, but I know my heart is so full because somebody's around the state, somebody's stomach is full. A child, can now hear the teacher over the sound of their stomach growling because they've been fed. There's food in a pantry on a college campus because Extra Table worked hard that day.
That's something that I've never thought about. Let's talk about college campus hunger.
Yeah.
Because that's real too.
It's real.
For some kids.
It's real for kids, but it's also,
I say kid, I'm 52. Those kids in college, they're kids to me.
That's right.
So.
But also your staff on campus, your physical plant staff, your grounds crew, maybe even some of your professors and, admin staff. Everybody has a challenge. And, and so those pantries.
Well, you never know whose air conditioner broke this month and they had to drop $1,000 on the air conditioner and they were like, oh gosh, I don't have money for food.
Exactly.
Like people getting emergencies.
Yes. And so we have, collegiate pantries. I think almost every campus across the state has a collegiate pantry. Extra Table, we don't support them all yet. Our goal would definitely be to be in all of them. But I think every college campus has a pantry.
How many counties are y'all in now?
We're in 53 counties with 66 pantries and growing. So
with the goal of all 82, right? Isn't
all 82, yep. And we're real specific about how we grow. So, if you want to write a check and fund a food pantry for the year, done. We'll add it to the list immediately. The second question is, do you have the need? Well, that's there's need all over our state.
Yeah, easy to find that.
Easy to find that. And then the third is, we keep our route really efficient. Like, as I'm going to Robert's office, borrowing paper and pencils, we are constantly evaluating our logistics route.
Yeah, I was going to say, so logistics has got to be a big deal.
Logistics is a huge deal. Trucking and gas and staff and, insurance alone, all those things are really important to our bottom line. And so we want our truck to be just underweight on all of its routes and be all the pallets in there. And we continuously reevaluate our routes as we add pantries in order to make them the most efficient and effective.
So are you the logistics person?
Heck no. Mm-mm.
So do y'all have a logistics person that's like extra good at this?
So yes,
How does that work?
I think that's where the strength from Extra Table comes. Is I am well aware that our team of 4 does not have all the answers.
Yeah, because logistics is. For people in that industry, they know, but that's tough.
It's so tough, and but we work with Justin Esser and Michael Duncan of Chow Logistics, and they're the guys that purchase our food and.
So they work with you from purchasing through the delivery. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So technically, their employee delivers our food.
Oh, that's huge.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yep. So it's it's one less person for me.
So when you're looking at a new pantry, you're going to contact with them too to say, hey, does this work with our logistics?
I talk to Justin every day, multiple times a day, no matter what's going on.
I think most people are really like. It's a big confusing thing how all this works because this is a large operation.
It's a big operation. About 1.4 million in food goes out the door in a year. And so we're hitting 66 pantries
so 120 grand a month.
Yes.
Every month.
It's right at 95,000 and then the purchasing to have it on weight on go. And then also shipping, in addition to what we shipping sweet potatoes and purchasing chickens and getting the rice here and getting it out the door. So, it's a lot. It's a big operation. There are a lot of moving parts and it's an honor to be a part of it. But it's more than just warm and fuzzies. I mean, every day we're running a logistics team, a warehouse team. We need an insurance broker as a part of our conversations. Legal is a part of our conversations. Our bank partners are incredible. We got our marketing team. We've got our events team. We've got our development group. I mean, and while there's just 4 people on the Extra Table team, we multiply.
You got these external who's.
We do.
I think about every day I do an exercise called A to B. Here's where we are. Here's where we're trying to get. And I always think about who's my internal who that I need.
Yeah, I like that. Who's
my external who's that can help me get there. And they're 2 different groups of people. And some things it may be I need the internal and the external.
Yes.
But it sounds like you've got a great external team that's pitching in,
We have a great external team, and the external team is continuously growing
which helps your cost tremendously, I'm sure.
so much. And so, like, for example, Scott Thigpen is one of our board members in Jackson, and I can call, and he has demonstrated this week, I can call Scott and say, I have a need. I need help.
Where's he?
He's in Jackson.
What business is he with?
Thigpen Wealth Management.
Okay, I think I met him. Was he at the bourbon thing?
Yeah,
I
you
think
did.
I might have
He
met him.
was. He was.
I might have met
He
him
was there introducing me to people, had brought guests, he was a sponsor, and he was opening the door for everybody to come into VIP that night. That is
nice.
such an important part of your experience, you know?
Yeah.
And so Scott is a big help, somebody I can always rely on. But this week I was like, hey, I need help. I just need bodies, like people that are willing to show up and will text everybody in their phone about chickens, like donate to chickens, donate to chickens. And we had 7 people sit down for 2 hours and start at A in their phone and go to Z. And then they were like, see you later. And we raised $17,000 in just a few hours.
Well, some of us have a better book than everybody else. I don't know if I can raise 17,000, but I have 200 people in my text group.
Yeah.
So I definitely need to text. And the easiest thing to do is the number again. Give us the number again. I'll put it on the
44321.
screen
Okay,
too.
good.
44321.
And it's 3 birds. And so there's no space. It's the number 3, no space, birds, BIRDS.
So that's what you text
That's
to
what
the
you
43
text. Yep.
44321.
That's your message. so to
But
say.
also there's other ways to participate with Extra Table,
Mm-hmm.
like the bourbon and
Yeah, the bourbon, our Empty Bowls event in the Delta is
Yeah.
so fun. We've had a running and cycling event for years. We have our packings. We have strictly volunteer events at our warehouse. Our March of the Mayors event. That might be my favorite.
really.
Yeah, March of the Mayors
Where do y'all
is
do that here?
all over the state.
Okay, so it's
So-
not in one location.
No, 53 mayors participate, and I think we already have 56 participating for 2026.
So how
Your
do you,
mayor and Drew participates?
I heard that. And how do you get in touch with them to let them know what's going on and get them to participate?
So we start now communicating with the mayors.
So
and
you just call directly.
We
Do
just-
y'all do a lot of cold
a
calling?
lot of cold calling.
Who likes doing that?
I don't care if you like it or not.
Because that's got to be part of the hard part, right?
It is part of the hard part, but telling the Extra Table story should not be that hard.
Yeah.
So pick up the phone, and it might be
Smiling and dialing.
Yeah, smile and dial, and it might be a stranger for a few minutes, but you aren't gonna end the call with that person as a stranger.
And you mentioned having bodies a while ago because we just did a festival 2 weeks ago, and it's the biggest problem in a small town is just having people.
Yes.
Like I can actually raising the money is not the hard part for me.
Mm-hmm.
I can raise money. The hard part is getting enough people there to pull it off the day of.
Right.
So I went to some of your events. You had way more than 4 people there.
Yeah.
Is that a problem? Is that something you have to, or do you have enough bodies?
I think we work hard to have talent and people all around. Because like the ladies in Jackson, they were very social, Tay Morgan has 3 magazines, and there's just a lot of we need people with all different abilities and skills. We need the USM athletes to come in and to help us sling pallets of food, and we need I always say at all of our activities and all of our events, there's a place for everyone.
Yeah.
Because if you're 80 years old and you don't want to put a hairnet on, you can still stand there and count what goes into the box, and that's important.
Yeah.
And so, and if you've got a kid that's 3, but mom and dad want to come out and serve, don't get a babysitter. Bring them with you, because we have boxes that they can color. Now, if your kid's eating the marker or the crayon, that's on you, but they're welcome at our
Maybe
event.
they'll be get soy crayons. They'll be all right.
Oh, but Extra Table, we're in tough times, and it's definitely not about politics. It's about people and getting quality, nutritious food to people and raising people up and showing them dignity and respect.
I think you guys have a good thing going. Is there ever any pushback politically from anybody? Because I know there's other organizations out there that do get government help and stuff like that. Do y'all ever run into any roadblocks?
I never have. I've been at Extra Table 7.5 years, and I have not had that problem. It takes all of us there's a 3.2. I'm going to have to send you the fact, but there's a great fact about what the actual meal gap is in the state of Mississippi. So we are all needed to put in 150%.
So you don't feel like those people that hadn't felt like, oh, we're in competition with them.
No, it's not competition. I mean, we all are.
I know
in this,
you don't think that. I was just curious if somebody else did. You know,
my little Pollyanna positive self doesn't stop to think about that.
Yeah.
I just think about we're all on the same team. We're all putting food on the table for families, and so. There are groups that get government subsidies and, feeding, different programs. And so
and they make them fill a gap somewhere that you can't fill.
And they feel
especially since you're not going to go get that money. Somebody needs to get it and put that food out.
They fill a super important gap, and they do great work, and they ship what they ship, and then we have the ability to see what they have and ship something different.
Yeah.
And so we all work together. And then, the canned food drive at the school is important, but I do not want to be the person that has to haul those cans to the pantry.
Well, like you said, and I don't know if it was you or Robert that said it the last time I met with y'all, and, the canned food drive always gets the can of hominy in the back that nobody wanted to eat. I like hominy, but
I love
a lot of
hominy.
people don't. And that can that nobody wanted, well, they don't want it either.
Right.
Necessarily.
We went to Stew Pot in Jackson recently, and we were talking to Melissa there, and she was like, "Can you help me come up with something to do with garbanzo beans?" And
that was actually what I was trying to come up with, garbanzo beans.
Yeah, and in my head I was like, "Ooh, absolutely, let's make hummus."
Yeah.
But that is not as familiar in
most people in
across all
Mississippi
cultures.
don't know that you even make hummus out of garbanzo.
No, my mother would absolutely be like, "Ew, no." But that was a big one. And then Robert and I always say, blueberry pie filling and water chestnuts. And
oh yeah, I like water chestnuts too.
me too. But you can't make a meal out of that.
No.
And
zero fiber, but zero nutritional value.
And I mean, it's like the hidden thing in the spinach dip that gives it that good crunch. You're not eating water chestnuts.
Correct.
So
no kid is surviving off water chestnuts in America.
No way possible. Yeah. And so we were again at another food pantry recently, and my coworker Amanda's like, "Look, what's right here?" And I was like, "Goodness grief!" And it was a can of water chestnuts. And so I think that's what our pantries love most about Extra Table is they know what's coming, they know how much they're going to get, they know when it's going to be there, and they can count on that. We're the constant. And so they can build whatever else they need around what we ship them.
I guess, we were talking about how you decide what the next pantry you take on. I guess that's part of the decision is, can we do this forever? Because you don't want to take on one and then not be able to do it later on.
So we only add 5 pantries every year. And this year, we're in November, and we've added 3. We're about to add our 4th. And it's not like a race to the finish line to get there. We're definitely quality over quantity. We want to do it right. I don't want to look at somebody or go speak to a Rotary Club like, we send $200 to 92,000 pantries. Like, I want to be like, we spend, $2,000 at, 90 pantries. Like, we want to be... we want to have a great footprint across the state of Mississippi, but I want our footprint to have deep, impactful roots. I want to get a lot of food to each of the pantries we support instead of having a lot of pantries with a little food.
Do you get to have contact with the actual people that you're helping much? Because I know there's a little bit of removal there since this is the food bank and that's the pantry. But do you have like stories that you just kind of like stick in your mind or anything like that? Anything you can share or want to share?
So, I mean, back during COVID, that was my first real, we were out there on the front lines because our pantries didn't have the number of volunteers. So we were at a lot of pantry distributions. And the crazy thing is the food lines, I've seen pictures from the Great Depression of the cars lined up. Yes, the bread lines lined up as far as you can see. And that is real today in November 2025. And that's hard to believe that people are out there, that many people, as far as you can see cars. And another
lining up to get food.
Lining up to get food and fearful that they're going to miss out. In the economy today, I've got a person that does robotics that is without a job. That person's far smarter than me. It's not about that. But we've got the grandparent that calls that has inherited 3 children and she is on a fixed income, and it's not those kids' fault. They can't go get a job, and that grandmother is doing the best she can do.
Well, I tell people all the time, there's 100% somebody gaming the system But you can't look at that one person and go, well, those other 100 people don't need to eat.
Right.
Or their kids that have specifically.
The kids
that,
specifically.
That are not game in the system.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe their parents are getting SNAP benefits and selling the benefits or something and then going to the pantry.
Yeah.
But that doesn't help the kid. You know, you can't give up on that poor kid that is not got whatever that parent's problem is.
And also the news. What does the news do? It takes the worst story and amplifies it everywhere. That story of somebody taking advantage of the system is the few and far between. You know, it's not.
Well, that's why podcasts are so important at work, because I think people are starting to see through what the news is.
Yeah.
And it's so, like we talked about, we'll snip it out, right? But at the same time, when you hear the whole conversation, it's a different thing altogether.
Yeah.
Than a 30-second snip. You know, I forget what's Neil deGrasse Tyson. He said when he first, you know what I'm talking about, the scientist. He's a really interesting scientist, but the first time he get interviewed, he was telling this whole story about how the universe worked and all that. And he was moving his hips at one point, and that's the only thing they put in the clip. And he said, I realized that they don't tell the whole story.
Yeah.
I had to learn to talk in sound bites. And sound bites never tell really of the story.
The whole story,
especially this story.
Right.
So that's why I think podcasts are doing so well, because people want it. I think people genuinely want to hear.
Yeah. And we like to ride down the road and have a beginning and an end. That's what I love about podcasts too. I can improve myself. I can learn something. I can, hear a story from you and get a good chuckle and feel good about Mississippi and have learned, something fun, or met somebody new through your podcast. And so it brings me joy. And I think that's what people are looking for. They're looking for information, but joy.
Where do you get all this energy?
It's definitely not coffee. But I think
Did you always have this?
Yes. My mother has it.
Were you always the stand up in front of the class and talk person?
Yes.
See, I was not. I was
Really?
very shy. Oh yeah. Very shy.
Oh no. My first grade report card said she does not lack confidence. Linda Smith wrote that in my report card, and my mom always repeats that. But my mom would straight up tell me, and encourage my skills. And, I didn't get to take voice lessons because I did not have a voice. And she just said, oh, I don't think we're going to do that when you have other talent. So she was, honest with us. And I think, we weren't the family that you got paid for your grades. We weren't the family that you got a trophy for doing good.
Your mom's outgoing too.
Yes.
Is your dad? I don't know your dad.
No, he's not as outgoing.
So you get the outgoing from your mom, you
Definitely
think?
from mom. Dad says, I do whatever your mama tells me, baby. It's so cute. And he does. And they're a unit. So, but yeah, mom's super outgoing. She wears me out. She can go far past all of us. She's in a text group with my team at Extra Table, and we're texting her duties.
She's heavily involved.
She's heavily involved. My parents show up at everything. So it's wonderful. And that's what, I tell my staff all the time, family comes first.
Yeah.
And, everybody has a parent that needs support at some point, or a kid that's got to play at school, or an Easter egg hunt. And don't you skip that on my watch,
Right.
Like, we make up the work. We do a lot of work after hours and on the weekends. And, I think that's why I love my job. And I think that's why so much of our staff love what we do and how we do it.
Growing your team from you alone. Mm-hmm. You and Robert, who you can steal from at his office, right? And to now you have three people and you, or 4 people and you?
3 people and me, so 4 total.
How do you choose those 3 people? How do you grow your team and get people that are on this same mission with you?
Yeah, I think it's hard.
Yeah.
Man, staffing, this.
I know.
Staffing
That's why I'm asking. It's hard.
People is hard. And my husband works for the ERDIC, the government out of Vicksburg, and so he's constantly getting trainings on staff, and so he's always repeating stuff to me. And managing people is the hardest thing that you can do. And you can, when we just interviewed, so for instance, we just interviewed and added 2 people to our team. We had 83 resumes that were sent in.
That's incredible.
It is incredible.
Well, that helps when you have a good...
Yeah, so some were from some websites that, weren't qualified. So I pulled 33 out immediately, and so we were down to 50. And then we took that down, and we had coffee or lunch with 17 different people. And we had them meet our team. Amanda and I went together. We had volunteers show up, to interact with them. And then when it comes to references, I'm like, who are they friends with on Facebook?
Yeah.
I'm not going to call the people that know you're calling. And so I think, it's hard to hire, it's hard to hire, but I just believe in what we do, and I spend a lot of time with our
So what are
team.
you really looking for in people? Like, is it a skill or is it an attitude?
I think number one, it's an attitude.
Yeah.
Like we're very protective of the personality of everybody, that the culture. We love our culture at Extra Table. We hit each other up at the coffee pot first thing every morning. You're never alone. You're not doing research by yourself. If you have too much on your plate, the person in the office next to you is going to come step up. And, we're just a big team. And I think that's important, and it brings joy to all of us. But I think, people don't stay in a position for as long as they used to. You don't work a whole career.
Yeah.
And, nonprofits don't pay what, the for-profit world
Sure.
pays. And so we do have a whole lot of turnover, and that's unfortunate. But it's fun to see our staff go on and do great things with the tools that they've learned at Extra
So
Table.
I thought about that, on the way over here. I'm like, you're CEO, really. Mm-hmm. Like, you're chief executive officer. You could go into that space and probably make 6 figures times 3 or 4. So why do you stay where you are? What drives that? Because I don't ever see you leaving, girl. I just watch you, and I'm like, she is so happy where she is.
So happy.
That it just comes off of you. I know y'all see it in the office, which has got to help the culture. But the culture's the leader. The leader is the culture.
Well, I pray every day, and I evaluate myself constantly. And it's hard to look in the mirror every morning and challenge yourself and think, what more can I do? How can I be better? How can I lead my team better? And I 100% do not have those answers. I'm not the best leader, and I'm not the best boss, but I definitely give it 100% and try every day. And I read a lot. I watch other people a lot and try to emulate what they're doing good. And anything that we can do to better our team. We went to Mad Genius, a marketing advertising firm in Jackson, and they are mad geniuses, man. We went to visit them recently, and they took us on a tour of their office, and it was just culture, 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 culture. And if you've got good culture, you're going to get good people.
Yeah.
And I think that's why our volunteers keep coming back, honestly, because...
Well, y'all make it fun for sure.
Yes.
Is that part of the culture?
It's a part of the culture. Fun. We are going to have fun. We are going to have fun at work.
Like, I have I know who your friends were in college. So I know y'all were fun.
We're fun.
I don't know how I'm older than you. That's why we'll never cross paths. But I also know a lot of your friend group.
Yes.
And let me just tell you, they had fun in college.
We had fun in college. We had lots of fun in college.
Yeah.
But, I was the girl that you probably hated because I showed up at the 8 o'clock class with my homework done and made a good grade on the test after staying out all night.
I knew that was the caveat to that.
I will never forget.
This is my daughter.
Yeah.
You and Mary Stafford would get along really well because y'all are overachievers.
And that's another thing about Extra Table.
Is that fair? Overachiever?
We like to do the best work, and if we go the extra mile for our donors, if we go the extra mile for our food pantries, if we, you want to be on a team that's growing and doing good work. And so we love what we do. And I got married recently, almost a year ago.
I was going to say a month.
A year.
Almost a year
ago.
I'm doing the math on that. I've known you longer than that.
Yeah. And Robert was freaking out that I was moving to Vicksburg. And I was like, Robert, no. I was like, I might stay there another day of the week. I haven't done that yet, but I'm here 5 days a week. But, I'm not done at Extra Table. Like, I haven't seen the goals that I have for myself personally and the goals I have for the organization to fruition. And so I'm not going anywhere.
You're competitive?
Very competitive.
I get that.
I like to do good work. And so it's fun.
So let's leave. I think we're at a really good wrapping up point, but I want you to leave the people, let's put a bow on this thing because it's the holidays. What one thing you want people to know about either you or Extra Table and what you guys do that maybe we hadn't covered?
Well, it's all about Extra Table for sure.
Yeah.
And I think in every community, you have a neighbor in need. And that's what Extra Table is. It's neighbors feeding neighbors. And we like to say meals matter and dollars make the difference. So skip going to the movie theater Friday night and give me your $20. And instead of, when I get your $20, I can go purchase more food, deliver more food, and make sure it happens in your community. So when you make a gift to Extra Table, we can earmark it, so to say, for the pantry near you, the community, the part of the state where you live. So for you, the Delta. So your gift at Extra Table is actually feeding people in your own backyard. And that's what we have to do to make a difference.
And a small gift like $20 matters.
$20, $5
You don't have to come
matters.
up with $100,000.
Nope.
But they'll take it. But
Some of my
but
most
yet,
passionate donors give $10 a month.
isn't that wild?
Mm-hmm.
And they make a difference.
And it makes a huge difference. And so any amount matters, and it's going to impact people right in your neighborhood. It's not just about Mississippi. Like, let's take it down to your neighborhood, your pantry, and Extra Table can make a huge impact there.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
How'd we do?
Amazing. Almost brought me